At 16 you've never seen a review like this. Weird old games you cannot tame, these things you don't miss. SNES Man is the champion, he is 16-bit. SNES Man is the champion, he is 16-bit.
Hello, my name's SNES Man. Today I'm going to talk to you about one of the greatest games to grace the Super Nintendo library. This game is Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past, one of the greatest Zelda games ever. Released in 1992, this was the golden third entry of the series. Not only was it groundbreaking for its time, but it created tons of aspects of the series that we love today. For instance, Ocarina of Time might be well known for being able to switch between time periods, but that idea was invented by the Light and Dark worlds from Link to the Past. So why am I even wasting your time talking about it? I need to show you the grandeur that is this game. Let's get down to gaming. Oh, the three pieces of the Triforce come together. I weep in joy. Link to the past. It's Link to the past. It's Link to the past. Let me enter my name, SNES Man, and soon we'll be ready to go. Here is the first scene of the story. Unlike most Zelda games, Link actually has a relative, his uncle, who he lives with. Both of them receive a telepathic message in the night from Princess Zelda, who's being captive in the dungeon. So Link's uncle thinks he's a Marvel superhero instead of a minor character and dashes out to save the day. As you can guess, you play as Link, not the uncle, because, face it, the uncle sucks. This guy thinks he's so heroic. I'm gonna save Zelda! And then he rushes in, gets beaten by guards. And you thought Goombas were weak. This small rescue mission quickly turns into a giant adventure, spanning across the whole land, fighting all kinds of beasts, using all kinds of weapons. This is one of the most fantastic Zelda games to date. Why is this such a good Zelda game? Because it took everything to the next level. This game is the inspiration of every Zelda game after it, and we all know how great of a series it is. Many new inventions in this game became key traditions of the series. For example, a tradition in the new games is that Link always pulls the Master Sword from the stone. Guess where that started? Many of Link's best items were created in this game too. Most memorable was the hookshot, which pulls you across chasms and pits. This item even appears in new Zelda games. It's that famous. Also, many of the best Zelda songs of all time were made in this game. The music is phenomenal, one of the best Super Nintendo soundtracks, but even that isn't the biggest achievement of this game. The best part is that it created its own world. For its time, the map was giant, and you could see the entire thing from a map screen. Because of this, it was hard to get lost, and you could memorize the whole world. It is really stunning how big of a universe they created on this one cartridge back in 1992 when games were so limited. They used the hardware they had to work with perfectly. For instance, this was the first Zelda game, or any game in fact, to have such deep dungeons. The dungeons were multi-layered, had all kinds of puzzles, and were really creative. Here's a good example. Link to the Past had a dungeon where you can change water levels. Later, Ocarina of Time took the same idea and made the water temple, which still gives me nightmares. No, anything but the water temple! I'd rather play Batman Forever! Okay, I'll play Water Temple. Seriously though, the Zelda series is well known for great dungeons. I still like Ocarina of Time's dungeons better than this game, but that doesn't mean these ones aren't awesome as well. A factor I really like about this game is the difficulty. It starts out quite easy, but by the end of the game it's tough, and I love that difficulty setting, where there's a decent challenge but it's not too frustrating. Also, I got stuck much less in this game than any other Zelda game, maybe because there's a helpful map screen and everything's pretty well laid out. Another great thing about this game, the enemies and bosses rock. The bosses have pretty intricate attack patterns and you have to memorize them to do well. Getting to Ganon is quite an ordeal because of the length of this game. In fact, I've only beat him once. Oh, but you should have been there. It was so awesome. Okay, I've talked about most other things. Now I'm going to talk about the controls. Link controls perfectly in this game. Press A if you want to lift or pull something. Press B to swing your sword. Y to use your secondary item. Start brings up your items and it's really useful, and select can pause the game or save at any moment. Sadly, when you press continue, you have to choose a point to respawn on the map instead of being right where you were. This is only a minor inconvenience though, because later on in the game you get all these extra transportation options. For instance, you can get a magic flute that lets a bird transport you to anywhere on the map. It's unbelievably helpful and lets you get places instantly. Since the bird can put you in tons of spots on the map quicker than walking, this helps you find secrets and get places faster. Really helpful. I don't know why they didn't put something like this in the newer Zelda games. Alright, you've probably heard a million people just like me say how great this game is, how great the whole Zelda series is. You might be really sick of it, but I have to agree with them. Awesome series, awesome game. But still, I'm under the opinion that even the greatest flawless 10 out of 10 games have problems, and things could have made them better than they were. I know you'll hate me for this, but I have some suggestions for making a flawless game even better.
Things to make it better.
A little more graphical detail and variety in the indoor dungeons. The designs might be awesome, but sometimes the tiles get a little similar to each other. More usage of difficult enemies. The difficult enemies are great in this game, but I think they're not placed frequently enough. Instead, you have lots of just guards. Something I would have liked to remove is the scene where you have to play as a rabbit. I thought this was kind of pointless and boring. Also, I don't like the traps that turn you into the rabbit briefly. Okay, these are pretty desperate. These are tiny nitpicking ideas. These aren't even real flaws. When I review such a good game as Link to the Past, it's hard to think of anything that could be improved. In fact, my ideas are more of tiny preferences that lots of people wouldn't agree with. I'm not going to deny that. And if I criticize this game anymore, my gamer's license should be revoked. So, that'll do it for my nitpicking moments. It's time for judgment. On a scale of 1 to 10, here's how it works. 1 is dreadful, 5 is average, 10 is incredibly good, a phenomenal game. Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past is a brilliant game that inspired many games after it and deserves no less than a 10 out of 10. An excellent game with many magical qualities that makes it just a classic. Compared to Super Nintendo games, this is one of the greatest ones that was ever created. This even stacks up as one of the best Zelda games ever made, and that is an excellent series. But don't pretend this is the only great game in the series. I also recommend the first one, possibly the second game if you're into it, and of course Ocarina of Time for the Nintendo 64. This is regarded as the best one of the series, and I can't lie, this is the best game I've played. Also, if you like action RPGs on the Super Nintendo, Secret of Mana is quite good. That concludes my review today. Thank you so much for watching. This is SNES Man, and I'll talk to you again sometime soon.